The World Health Organization estimates that more than 264 million people globally suffer from depression, and about one third do not respond to antidepressants, while close to 1 billion people suffer from mental illness or substance abuse disorder. This is where psychedelics come in, and health technology investors are now paying attention.
It's difficult to draw solid conclusions from the existing studies, but there's more than enough promise here to merit further research and further funding for that research. As Matthew Johnson of Johns Hopkins said, these are among the most debilitating and costly disorders known to humankind. For some people, no existing treatments help, but psychedelics might.
One thing you might still be wondering is why so much of this research is so new when we've known about psychedelics for thousands of years. Well, since these drugs are so old, they can't be patented, which means that pharmaceutical companies don't really have any incentive to fund any research into them. So that really leaves it up to governments and private contributors to fund all these studies. And there actually was a lot of research done into these drugs in the 50s and 60s, but there was a big enough backlash to the abuse of psychedelics in that period, especially around events like Woodstock, that funding really dried up and research stopped. And that's why it's only now that we see this research happening with private and not government contributions.
On May 27th of this year, Mind Medicine Inc., the leading neuropharmaceutical company of psychedelic-inspired medicines, announced that they'll be adding a psychedelic compound, MDMA, to its pipeline. But who is Mind Medicine exactly? They discovered, developed, and deployed psychedelic-inspired medication to improve health, promote wellness, and alleviate suffering. Let's go to Shark Tank's Kevin O'Leary. He spoke to them back in March on why he's even investing in psychedelics.
I think that can get very, very messy. What we're focused on is helping patients, and the way to help patients with lots of diseases here in the United States, mental illnesses, is to do that through the FDA pathway. There's a clear way to do that. That's how every single medicine that has become approved has gone through the FDA. Why reinvent the wheel there? I think this is a really important thing. And by the way, you're not the only guy that I gave the handshake on to this. There's some pretty big funds in New York that came into the pre-public round that wanted the same handshake because they can't be seen to investing into recreational, Schedule I narcotics. I mean, that's it's not possible for their funds. And so that's why they were able to invest into us. What I will say is we need to really focus on why we are doing this. What are the outcomes? Let's not focus on the substances. Let's focus on the potential outcomes for some really sick people out there. There are 40 million Americans that have anxiety. There are 20 million plus suffering from substance abuse disorders. These are big, big problems. And so to answer your question a little bit further, what else we'll be looking at besides our opioid addiction focused trial and our adult ADHD with LSD trial, I'm very interested in anxiety. We acquired a phase 2 trial from the University Hospital Basel and Dr. Matthias Lichty, who's the leading researcher in the LSD space and has been for a number of years. And that will have some potential readouts in the not too distant future on that phase 2 trial. And I think that when we look at that trial, we're going to be very compelled to go into the anxiety space and create a whole new drug program around anxiety. And we're going to need it because COVID-19, I mean, I was in the pharmacy the other day just picking up a prescription, and the woman in front of me was, the pharmacist was talking to her, and he said, well, I know this is, your first time getting Xanax. Do you understand what it's for? And she goes, yeah, I was watching CNN and my doctor said that I probably, needed an anti-anxiety medication. So that's why I got this. That's a big problem that's going to come out of here. And I think the next, and I'm going to probably come back here in a year or two, and we're going to be talking about the Xanax crisis. So we need to focus on disruptive technologies and solutions to mental health. That is what we are trying to achieve as a company.
Finally, if I'm an investor in MindMed, and I am, what should I be looking for in terms of just scheduling or milestones in the road over the next year? What is it that you're trying to achieve that I should say that is a good milestone to achieve as an investor I'd care about? Just map me out the next 12 months. What matters?
Well, look, I think it's very important to start phase 2 trials. And so we'll be starting phase 2 trials very soon on 2 drug trials. In addition, there is a lot of IP that we can generate out of this acquisition that we've done with the University Hospital Basel. I would look forward to further IP filings around what we're working on there. And then some new ideas that might be phase 1 trials, but could be new forms of using psychedelics. So those are the milestones you want to look for, because trust me, big pharma is interested in this space. They've really stayed in the sidelines to date. There was one company, Johnson & Johnson, who was working on esketamine, which got approved, which is very similar to a psychedelic experience. And that was approved in Q2 2019. They are going in by 2024, consensus estimates say $1.4 billion a year in revenue. These are big markets. That's for treatment-resistant depression.
It's true. So it's unfortunate they're big markets. I mean, solving for
Thank you for joining me on this 3-part series on psychedelics and mental health. If you have any comments on the 3 episodes, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can get in touch at hostshane@gmail.com. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Rinse. Don't forget to share and leave a review. If you have a suggestion for the show or just want to get in touch, reach out to me personally at hostshane@gmail.com or follow me on social. On Instagram, you can find me at ShaneFameCom or FameFriends. Or on Twitter, it's at FameFriendsPod. Rinse is written and produced by Shane Fame Alexander. Rinse is a Fame and Friends production.